hear me? Okay. Cool. Let's see if it still works. Okay. So welcome back. I will introduce now some mainly mobile attacks. So I will first speak about mobile malware, and then we'll see some applications of this mobile malware in the real life, in the real world. Sorry. And we'll talk about malware produced some real bad guys, and then I will talk about the malware I produced in order to study these techniques. I will skip these slides, it's the same as before, fortunately, still the same. So, what? Yeah. I'm a bit older. What's malware? A malware is a piece of software which disrupts the computer operations, try to gather sensitive information or gain access to private computer systems. These concepts now applies also to mobile phone more than ever, because mobile phones are way more similar to normal computers now with Android, iOS, and Windows Phone. And so the operations you may do with these phones are actually similar to those you do with the computer. In some cases, they are even more attackable. The mobile malwares have been seen in the network since the 2004. Approximately in that period, Symbian was really attacked. Then we moved from Symbian to Android. Android came up in 2008. So there has been some development with malware on Android, iOS, and so forth. The growth of mobile devices is really huge, and as such, mobile devices are more and more targeted by malware because it's more interesting. There are more users. Users think that mobile devices just works good and they are safe so, and so people don't think about what they do, they just want to do things. So they want to do the online banking, they want to do gaming, they want to do chatting, and all this kind of stuff. They don't care about what's under the hood or what's really happening. And so in some cases, it's easier to attack them. Another consideration is that user in a mobile malware attack, such as a normal PC malware attack, the user interaction is often required, but it's something we accept, because usually the user clicks everywhere, accepts everything, and doesn't care about what's proposed to him. He just wants to get rid of that strange message. He wants to get rid of that SMS or that email. It opens the emails, it opens the SMS, just clicks wherever it's clickable, and so it's infected very easily. So we have said that we have malware for Symbian platform, for BlackBerry, for Android. Unfortunately, Android is the platform I prefer most because it's the more open platform between these four. Symbian was also open source, but it's more than a died project. Android, it's very, very used and very, very hackable, and it does have a lot of problems, but I still prefer it against the others. Someone tells me, well, iOS is safer because there's Apple controlling everything, even the air you breathe, and so with iOS you go, okay, you have only one app store, everything is checked and controlled in the App Store. You have several improvements in the iOS versions with security patches and so forth. Actually, in this link, there's a blog post about a security specialist of June 2014, so a couple of months ago. And he tried to make a list of what are the known most common iOS malwares. And there's approximately 15 of them, maybe more, with their specifications on whether the device should be jailbreaking or not, and what are the informations they gather. But yeah, iOS, they do have malware iOS devices, and you might be in danger. What about Windows Phone and Firefox OS and Tizen? Windows Phone, it seems to be very secure by now. From a forensics point of view, it's also one of the worst platforms to analyze because there's no so much information about it around. It's quite a still new operating systems. Not lots of people have hacked it, and so there's not a lot of work yet on it. But I think we'll be seeing more in the future, even though Microsoft claims to have better security controls and checks compared to Android and iOS. Oh, by the way, BlackBerry is hackable as well, and they do have malware for BlackBerry as well. Firefox OS and Tizen, as for Windows Phone, it's very new operating systems. Still security checks on them. They are both open source. The problem here I see is that they are basically browser-based. So web apps are HTML apps, HTML5 apps, and so all kind of man-in-the-middle, man-in-the-browser attacks might be done on them. And so I think there might be some scenarios, some bad scenarios. Sorry, Mauro, how much time do I have?
20 minutes.
Okay, cool. I hope to have more since I'm the last one, but okay. Yeah. Question.
Sorry, what about the Ubuntu phone?
The Ubuntu phone, I didn't check it. From what I know, there are basically two versions of Ubuntu phone. The Ubuntu for Android version, which was the first one, and then the Ubuntu phone, which is a more modified Android. Since it's based on Android, I didn't check the security specifications, but my guess is that they have the same problems. I would truly like to try a Ubuntu phone because I'm a Ubuntu fan and because I do like Linux everywhere. So I would really like to try one. But yeah, I've never tested. So this is an image I get from Via Forensics. They are a very cool company, as I said before, for forensics analysis. They do also malware analysis. Santoku, Linux, live Linux distributions might be used, aside from the mobile forensics, it might be used also for malware analysis. They do have all kind of tools. And so this is just a picture. I will explain, maybe it's not very readable, I will explain some of the problems here. But basically what you have is that when you attack a phone, you have lots of ways you may do it. So you may attack the phone directly, you may attack the network which the phone is connected to, or you may attack the service which the phone connects to. So let's go first from the device standing point of view, attacks on the browser. Okay, we have phishing, so classic emails with a wrong link. You click on the link, you got infected. Framing, so injecting some iframes or other HTML inside the web pages you see. Clickjacking, so hijacking the clicks or the touches on the web pages in order to redirect or to do some bad actions upon that click. Man-in-the-middle attacks, so as it was explained before, we may attack the operating systems in order to sniff on the web browser traffic, or even to inject something. And so it might be injected something in the browser so that you can execute JavaScript inside the web pages. If we have time, we might see something similar with a live demo later on. Buffer overflow and data caching, so what's cached on the device after you see a web page. This is very useful to check when you do forensics analysis, or in the framework I will explain later, we use to check online banking and other online services, or buffer overflow. Other attack vectors, attacks to the system. So no password or weak password. A mobile phone which doesn't have a lock, or either be a slide lock, a pin lock, a password lock. If you got the mobile phone and you just may swipe and enter, you may install software, you may see data, it depends. iOS jailbreaking and Android routing allows you to have more privileges than the required or the thought one. So you may do bad things with more privileges. Passwords and data accessible to apps installed on the device. Even sometimes they are even not ciphered, so you may find passwords stored on the device in clear text. No encryption or weak encryptions on databases and informations. Let's go on. Attack surface SMS. SMS is very used by financial banking malware in order to spread the malware on the mobile phone. I will talk about later some guys at TU Darmstadt, Germany. They studied the attack of the mobile phone from an infected PC through the Wi-Fi or through the USB tethering. Most of the times, for example, with Eurograbber, Zitmo, Spitmo, the user just gets infected from the SMS which the botnet sends to him. Then we have smishing, which is basically SMS phishing. There's also vishing, which is phone call phishing. So you get a phone call from a guy which says it's your bank. You believe to him. You tell him some privacy information, and that's bad. Other mobile attacks, we do have attacks on apps. So again, manning the mobile, for example, installing rogue apps, as we'll see later. Sensitive data storage, so apps which cache data information on the system or store passwords, or for example, more and more banking applications, which I truly love, stores one-time passwords on the device, so that the actually one-time password is used more than one time, because the user needs to tell the application just this is my one-time password and remember it, and so you may use the online banking as much as you want, type in the one-time password only once, And so you may find the password and you just use the online banking instead of the user, and it doesn't even recognize it. Improper SSL validations, as we saw before with Mathis. Configuration manipulation, so if the application, for example, boots up and read the configuration files where there's a server configuration, you might modify that file in order to redirect the connection of that app to your server instead of going to the true server. And then other attacks, escalation privileges, exploits on the kernel, and such on. Let's see if, okay. Attacks on the network, very interesting on Wi-Fi, as was proposed before. When you go around, you have free access points that you may just don't want to accept that free access points as a secure network. There might be all kind of people like myself, which by just running, for example, Disploit, which is a penetration testing application for Android, you connect to a wireless, you run a man-in-the-mobile attacks, and you basically inject JavaScript code inside all the HTTP requests all the other users in the network does. And so that you infect the user just from your mobile phone, and then from your PC, which is connected to the same network, you may use a framework such as Beef, and in order to access the PC from the browser. And this is what I would like to show you later, if we may have the time. So you may attack the Wi-Fi network, for example, with the rogue access points. There are some tools you may buy on the internet for $100. It's called Wi-Fi Pineapple, and you may do all security pen testing on Wi-Fi, and also automatic rogue access points, SSL strip, and HTTP injection, and network sniffing, all done automatic. But this box, which is basically a little bit bigger of a mobile phone, runs through a mobile bank battery. You get a rogue access point in the backpack, and that's just lovely. So you may have, as I said, the rogue access point, packet sniffing, man in the mobile, session hijacking, when you, for example, you sniff a cookie, which are nowadays just used by every web app to authenticate you in the web session. They might be sniffed, they might be get from the browser, and so that you can impersonificate another person. DNS poisoning, SSL strip, as I said before, fake SSL certificate, it has been discussed deeper before. An attack I didn't mention here, it's an attack on the cellular network. So basically, how can you sniff a phone call or SMSs? I don't know if anyone of you tried or tested. Okay, we are actually implementing this in our lab. You basically use a jammer to jam the signal of 4G and 3G frequencies, so that the mobile phone automatically switch to 2G frequencies, and 2G has some exploits and some issues on the encryption algorithms, so that through rainbow tables you just crack the sniffed 2G communications, and so you may sniff phone calls, SMSs, and the person doesn't even recognize it. Come on, yeah, it stops. Yeah. Let's see if, wait, let's see if the radio comment, okay, there was someone jamming the signal. Just joking. And then you may attack the data center, but this is another level of attack. Let's go to something more interesting. Some kind of mobile malware attacks, for example, for Android. How may you implement an attack? You may use confused deputy attacks, so your app, which doesn't have all the necessary permissions to do the attack, actually uses another app to bring the attack to the application. An example is that is an app which doesn't have network access, just through an intent to the operating systems in order to open a link. That link is a link to a malicious APK with a malware, so that the operating systems interprets the ident the app just sent as a broadcast. That intent is taken from the mobile phone browser. It's open the link. The link is an APK. The APK is installed, and then you're boned. Then you have packaging of apps, root exploits to the operating systems, session hijacking with fake login screens. So, for example, in Android, login screen of web applications might be hijacked by fake login screens. And so you launch the real application. The malicious applications recognize that you launch it. It put a fake login screen, recognize and take the data, and then does whatever it wants. And you have phishing and information gathering. So let's talk about some interesting things. Mobile financial malware. Since lately, at least from 2010 for Android, we have seen, for example, Zitmo, which is the mobile version of Zeus, Speedmo, the mobile version of SpyEye, Sitmo, the mobile version of Carberpy. Zeus and SpyEye were mostly targeting European and USA banks. Carberpy was especially done for Russian banks. Then there was Eurograbber. He stole 36 million of euros in Europe between 2012 and the first year of part of 2013 through man-in-the-mobile attacks with wire transfer hijacked, and was a very, very good shot. And then SandraRat, for example, late in 2014, it presents itself as a Kaspersky antivirus, and so the user just click to install the antivirus, and it's a malware. So banks and we spend a lot of money due to mobile malware attacks because we don't recognize that they hijack our wire transfers. Fortunately, Italy is between the top 10th in something in the world, and that's the top 10th of malware frauds. We do something. For example, let's talk about man-in-the-mobile attacks. What's a man-in-the-mobile attacks? It's an attack where there's the need to infect the two devices, usually the mobile device of the user and the computer. Why is that? Because the user accesses the bank through its computer, then the bank sends an SMS through the user by push SMS, by SMS or up push messages. The user then takes this mobile token, puts it in the web bank, and then it accesses it. So there's a two-factor authentication for example, for accessing the bank, for issuing through the web wire transfers and or other things. There has been some work in the past. I will talk about what we do. And so in order to understand the real risk, we have thought about doing something which is called PROFIT. It's a methodology in order to access the threat of an online service. So it might be online gaming, it might be banking online, whatever service it has some information, it might be accessed by PROFIT. And in order to easily demonstrate the clients and the customers how easy it is to hijack wire transfers, we built Boom, which is a framework to simulate current and experimental frauds. It's basically composed by a command and control web app, which is the bad server, let's call it. And then we have scripts or apps in order to attack the user mobile devices or user computers, such as man-in-the-middle attacks, so scripts for mitten proxy or ZAP proxies. We have scripts for man-in-the-browser attacks, for example, injecting scripts with GreaseMonkey or TeaseMonkey or browser plugins. And then we have MITMO attacks apps, so we have developed some apps to install in the mobile device and demonstrate this kind of attacks. So let's talk about, for example, one of the attacks we demonstrate. We have a user PC which is infected by browser boom. So it's JavaScript injected inside the web page whenever the user hits that particular web page, for example, the web page of the wire transfer form. We may inject a JavaScript which intercept the user communication to the bank. So basically, the users decide to do wire transfers. 15 minutes? Okay, cool. Thanks. The user decides to do a wire transfers. It fills all the informations of the wire transfers. We intercept that form send to the bank, and we put our information. So instead of sending the wire transfer to A, we send to the wire transfer to our account. And so the communication to the server of the bank, it's still allowed because we just have changed the information inside the post command. Simultaneously, we also send some information to our command and control in order to know what's happening, in order to know which data is changed in the communications of the clients with the bank, and so to take actions. The step after it is the bank, which sends an SMS to the mobile phone in order to authenticate the operations. So you want to do a wire transfer, the bank sends you an SMS and it said, okay, with this code you can authorize that particular wire transfer. What's happening is that our SMS Boon application installed on the mobile device just intercept the SMS. It changes, for example, some information of the SMS if necessary. In these cases, the SMS contained also the last 4 digits of the web account of the bank account where we want to send the money. So if we didn't modify those last 4 digits, the user might have recognized the attack because the user input a bank account, which now it's not the same. How to modify that information? Our CNC server sends that information through a push network, through a push service, through the mobile phone. So basically the mobile phone app intercept the SMS, take the information from our servers, modify the SMS with the information we send to the mobile, and then show to the user a log SMS. So in order to put everything together, we have the infected PC, we do a wire transfers, and we send information about the hijacked wire transfer to our server. Then the bank sends the SMS. We send with a push notification the information in order to change the SMS content and show the user a fake SMS. Let's see some screenshots of the attack. I cannot show to you the screenshots of the banking online part for obvious reasons. I will show you just the screenshots from our side. So this is our command and control, boom, which, for example, has a web page to see hijacked cookies, has a web page to see wire transfers, and has a page to see which clients has been infected from us and to remotely command them. This is the old version. We are now developing the new version, which has more features, more interactions with Teams, with client infections, and with hijacking of online banking operations. So in order to zoom in and see which operations, I divided this screen in three parts. The first part, the first information is the sender information. So we have timestamp the sender IP, which is the IP of the infected PC, which is making the wire transfer request to the bank. We have the sender name, which is myself, and the sender IBAN. Then we have the original destination wire transfer information. So the original guy, the wire transfer was supposed to be sent, its original bank account ID, and the original amount. In this case, we left the amount of the wire transfer unchanged, but of course you may change also that one. And the user doesn't recognize any difference. Then we have the information about the real receiver of the wire transfer. That in this case was myself. What's happening on the mobile? We see here a screenshot of the SMS applications. These are all SMSs sent by the bank which have not been modified, and this one is the fake SMS, which actually the user sees similar to the real SMSs. There's only one difference, but let's see it later. So, for example, the SMS says that the code for the certification of the wire transfer is this one. Where is it? Oh, this one. Okay, which is, for example, this one. This is the mobile token which is needed to authorize that wire transfer. And the bank says to you also that that wire transfer was supposed to arrive to the guy with the bank account with the last 4 digits, which are these ones. Okay. For example, in this fake SMS, we have the destination IBAN, which last 4 digits are 1864. Let's check if it's the real one. The real destination? No, it's not. The real destination has the last 4 digits, which are 9874. That information is the original destination. which has been modified. Any one of you may recognize what differs, for example, from this SMS to this SMS in this particular application? Okay, so the trick here is that this particular SMS applications, not all of them do the same. This particular SMS application, which is the stock Android one, says also from which SIM card the SMS was received. So this was my SIM card. This mobile phone has a dual SIM card, so it tells me that this SMS was received by this SIM card. This SMS has no SIM card. Why? Because this SMS was handily crafted by our malware mobile app and was inserted in the SMS databases through the normal Android API. So the catch here is that our app actually didn't need any more permissions apart from the network access for the push messages and reading and writing SMS, which actually are some of the most common permissions required by a lot of applications. Facebook Messenger does require it, WhatsApp, even Facebook client does require it. So I'm done. If there are any questions, and thanks for your attention. Yeah, I always put some publicity about. Yeah.
So about the fact that the team part of the slide. So is it possible? Maybe you told it, but maybe I lost it. But would it be possible to fake this information from an SMS in the application? And this fake SMS.
Okay, so the question here is it possible to fake this information also in the fake SMS? The question, the response might be yes, but not through the public Android API. So if you just want to do an application which doesn't make a lot of noise and requires and uses the public Android API, you may not. If you have a rooted device, if you use your own API to access the SMS databases, that's allowed.
But I think, I just checked the Hangout application, and I think you are lucky because in my phone is not, does show SMS by SMS or just by web. It's not showing.
For example, I think that Hangout, which they want you to use it now. So in new versions of Android, they try to make you use Hangout for either Hangouts, web chats, and SMS. And I think that Hangouts doesn't show up this. Doesn't show up this information. I prefer to use the SMS app for the SMSs and Hangout for Hangout, but that's me. So for example, Text Secure, which is the app I'm using now, and is the app which I show you, I talked to you earlier. I think that Text Secure doesn't show you the information about the SIM. I should check more deeply, maybe because right now I'm using only one SIM out of two, so it may recognize that you're using only one SIM and show you no information, but either way, they don't show you this information.
So this works because the
Yeah, basically it works that way. You may intercept also push messages. If the message would be certified or it might be a solution, the problem is the SMS length and the capability of the SMS app to recognize the SMS certification. So if a user uses a feature phone or don't have the mobile bank app installed on the phone, you may not check if the SMS certification is correct or not. And so they want just to go for the...
But you need something on the device, right?
For what?
To run user time.
You need something on the device. That's right.
You cannot have it in a feature report.
I mean, in Symbian you can. That's true. Also, you cannot have in a feature phone. It's not totally true, because in a feature phone you still might run Java 2ME applications and applets, and there were attacks and mobile malware sent through the carrier, mobile carrier, which run Java applications from the SIM card. And yeah, that's one thing. One thing we, well, let me allow to go back. One thing I didn't say before, it's very important for our threat assessment methodology, is that as ENISA recommends, we assume all the devices of the user are infected. And that's an assumption not every bank does nowadays, which we say that since a couple of years actually. So since we do this kind of tests, we assume this since quite some times. Not all of the banks assume this. So, yeah, question?
Have you tried your application over USSD, for example, because yours only works, I think, with the SMS.
Yeah.
So if a bank communicates with the client through the USSD, so then I think like is it working for that one also, or?
Excuse me, USSD. What is?
The actually communication. For example, when you want to get some knowledge about your credit.
Okay.
On your
Oh,
phone.
okay. Yeah. No, we didn't check that. You might actually use SMS. It's a strange guy. You have several kind of SMSs. I think there are a dozen of them. The text SMSs we send to each other is just a kind of SMS, but the bank might actually send you other SMSs which are used by the network checks and other kind of stuff. So one of these SMS might be what you talk about. We didn't check that thing in order. I think it's still possible, but you may go deeper in the operating systems or in the apps to intercept, to sniff that SMS. Actually, this work suppose that the mobile phone has been injected with some malicious code in the mobile network drive. And so they take the SMS when it's received by the operating system kernel module. And so it's quite deeper in the operating system stack. And I think you might use, you might hijack that kind of SMSs in this case. So this is possible.
There are no other questions. Let's move this speaker again.
Thanks to you.
Thanks everybody for attending this workshop, for all the people from Security and Privacy Research Group that supported the organization, and also Clusit. And maybe we'll see you next year. If you have feedback, send us an email.
area where these presentations are available?
Yes, we will try to make these presentations and video available on the website of the workshop.